Hi, hello everyone. We are back again. Okay. So in the last class, we discussed about human eye and parts and its different functions. And also we discussed about an power of accommodation. Okay. In today's topic, we are going to discuss about the defects of vision. Okay, so what are the defects of vision? We know, so defects means disability. So what are the problems that are associated with the defects of vision? We are going to learn in this. So mainly we have four important defects of vision. Okay, the first one is very famous myopia. Okay, so second one is hypermetropia. The third one is presbyopia. Okay, the last one is cataract. Okay, usually it's a very important topic, most of the question papers, and sometimes you will see most and often. Okay, almost is a very important topic. Today we are going to discuss. So myopia, what is myopia? Very important. Okay, so it is an eye defect. It is an eye defect where, a person suffering from myopia, a person suffering from myopia, a person suffering from myopia, okay, a person suffering from myopia can see distant object clearly, and he cannot see nearby objects. Okay, so a person suffering from myopia can see distant object clearly and cannot see nearby object. Okay, so this defect is called, a person suffering from myopia can see distant object clearly and he cannot see nearby objects. So then he is suffering from a defect is called myopia. Okay, myopia, this is also called as short sightedness. Okay, this is also called as short sightedness. Very important. So instead of myopia, they also ask you as define short sightedness or explain. So anything they can ask. Okay, so myopia, a person suffering from myopia can see distant objects clearly and cannot see the nearby object. Then he is suffering from a defect called myopia. Okay, what are the reasons for myopia? Okay, so the main important reason is excessive curvature of eye lens. Okay, excessive curvature of eye lens and elongation of eyeball. So very important reasons. Okay, so excessive curvature of eye lens. Okay, so excessive curvature of eye lens means, so for a normal person, what happens, the eye lens is like this, this is eyeball. So when the object is in front, the light rays from the object falls on the retina so that the object form on this, right? Okay, so sometimes what happens, so for this is a normal vision. So sometimes what happens, some defected vision, for some defected vision, this excessive curvature, excessive means excess means more, so eye lens become thick, more thick, like this, excessive curvature. Okay, when due to this excessive curvature, you know what happens? The light rays from the object will meet in front of retina. Okay, so why? What is the reason? Excessive curvature. The curvature, you know, eye lens has to be like this, but due to excessive more than what it has to be. Okay, so you know, yes, definitely when we want to see the nearby object, the eye lens should be thicker, but it is more than what it has to be. Okay, when it is more than what it has to be, then the image will form in front of the retina. Okay, this is also one of the reason. And sometimes, you know what happens, you know, that elongation of eyeball. So the eyeball is being elongated. Okay, it is being stretched. Okay, when it is stretched, in such a cases, you know what happens, image will form in front of the retina. So where does the image forms in front of the retina? Sorry, where does the image forms? It forms in front of the retina. Okay, very important. They will ask you, where does the image forms for the myopic person? So for myopic person, it forms in front of the retina. So definitely where the image has to fall, the image has to fall on the retina. Okay, so if it has to fall on the retina, we have to use the suitable lenses for that. Okay, so here the we will take eye lens like this actually. So now, so you know, we will use a certain type of lens is called concave lens, bifocal. So bifocal means it has two focal lengths. So when it falls, when the light rays falls on the concave lens, it is a diverging lens. It diverges the light rays. Okay, so when it diverges the light rays, the image will form on the retina. Okay, so the image will form on the retina, and this is the diagram for corrected vision. Corrected vision. Okay, this is the diagram for myopic vision or a myopic eye. Okay, so diagrams are very important and the reasons are very important, and these are the main important points we want to know about myopia. Okay, so what is myopia? A person suffering from myopia cannot see the nearby objects and can see the distant objects clearly. Okay, cannot see the nearby objects. So most of us, you know, if you are not able to see whatever the readings and all, no, definitely you might be suffering from myopia. So you can ask your friends and all what you can see front object, or you can see the distant objects and all. Okay, so then another one is the reasons. So excessive curvature of, just now I explained you excessive and the curvature. So when the curvature means, you know, the outer surface is called curvature. So it is more than what it has to be. When it is more than excessive curvature of eye lens and the elongation of eyeball is being elongated. Okay, so when the excessive curvature of eye lens and elongation of the eyeball, these are the very two important things, that the reasons of the myopia. And where does the image form for the myopic person? Very important, it forms in front of the retina. Then how do you make that image has to form on the retina? By using bifocal concave lens. This kind of bifocal concave lens. Okay, so this is very important. So these are the points you need to know, and diagram is very important. They will give you in CBSE and all. So you know, defected vision and corrected vision they will give you, and also they will give you which lens do you suggest, like that. If they give you the, you know, defected eye, and they will ask you which lens you will suggest it, convex or concave, converging or diverging, in like that way also they can be asked. So you know that diverging lens. So concave lens is diverging lens. Whenever the light ray falls on it, it has, see, we have to make it, the image has to form on it. So it diverges the light rays so that the light rays fall on the eye lens so that it forms on the retina. The next defect we have is hypermetropia. And hypermetropia is also called as long-sightedness. Okay, what is a long-sightedness or hypermetropia? A person suffering from hypermetropia can see nearby objects clearly. Okay, he can see clearly nearby object. Okay, he can see clearly nearby object, and he cannot see distant object. Okay, what is a distant object? Distant object means far objects. He cannot see he can see nearby object and he cannot see distant object. Then he is suffering from a defect called hypermetropia or long-sightedness. Next, what are the reasons for hypermetropia? Okay, so there are mainly two reasons are there for hypermetropia. The first one is eyeball has become too small. Okay, so eyeball has become too small. If anybody has a smaller eyeball, then they are definitely suffering from hypermetropia. Another reason is the focal length of the eye lens is the focal length of the eye lens is too long. The focal length of the eye lens is too long. Okay, if they have a longer focal length, or if they have the shorter eyeball, then they are suffering from a defect called hypermetropia. Okay, let us see how. So let us see that we have taken an eye. So in that, actually little bit, what happens, the eyeball has too small, has become like this. So when we want to, that whenever we want to see the nearby objects, we know that focal length decreases, eye lens become thick. Okay, so that we can able to see the object. But at the same time, when you want to see the distant objects, on that time what happens? What should happen? The ciliary muscles should get relaxed. The eye lens has to become thin. Focal length has to increase. So here when he is suffering from hypermetropia, when he sees a nearby object, it doesn't have any problem for him. The reason, anyway, it is shorter, the focal length is less, eyeball has become thick. At the same time, it becomes a thin or something like that. What happens? The focal length has to be long. So when the focal length has to be long, then what happens? Due to his defect, he cannot able to see the object which is there in the distant object. Okay, so what happens? So because of his the eye lens size, he cannot able to see the longer focal length objects. Okay, so everybody knows. Okay, so if you want to see the object has to form its image on our retina. But here we are unable to make it. Okay, at the same time, if the focal length of the eye lens is too long, if the eye lens is too long, it's unable to, it's very, very thin. So when it is thin, focal length will be increases. So it is thin than as usual. When the what happens when the eye lens is so thin, its focal length will be so high. On that time, it is unable to form the image on the retina. So where we have to keep the object? Sorry, what are the corrections? So now let us see. This is the what happens when we want. So which type of lens we are going to use? So we are going to use a convex lens, a bifocal convex lens to treat hypermetropia. So I have to see, anyway the image is forming behind retina. I want to make it to form on the retina. So to form on the retina, I need to converge the light rays. I want to converge the light rays means I have to use a converging lens. So that converging lens is nothing but convex lens. So when the light rays fall on the convex lens, it little bit converges the light rays. When it converges the light rays, these convergent light rays will form on the retina. Okay, so when it forms on the retina, so we can able to see the distant objects very clearly. Okay, in this topic is very, very important. What is hypermetropia or long-sightedness? A person suffering from hypermetropia can see nearby objects but cannot see distant objects. And the reasons are very important. The eyeball has become too small and the focal length of the eye lens is too long. And where does the image form for the hypermetropic person? So this is hypermetropic eye. So where does the image forms? Behind retina. Very important. Behind retina. How do you treat this defect? By using bifocal convex lens. So these are the very important points to be noted down. So once we discuss myopia and the hypermetropia, next we are going to discuss about presbyopia. Then we have next upcoming defects, that is presbyopia and cataract. So what is a presbyopia? Definitely we can say first myopia means he cannot see nearby objects. So hypermetropia means he cannot see distant object. Okay, so long sightedness. And the next is combination of both. The combination of both means what? He cannot see nearby object as well as distant object. So a person suffering from myopia, a person suffering from myopia, a person suffering from presbyopia, cannot see nearby objects. Okay, he cannot see nearby objects as well as distant objects. Okay, so a person suffering from presbyopia, he cannot see nearby object and also as well as distant object. He is called presbyopia. So what are the reasons? So very important reasons are there for this. Only reasons are there, no diagram for this. But myopia and hypermetropia, you have one very important defected diagram and corrected diagram. Both you have to practice. So definitely they will ask in the exam also. So what are the reasons for presbyopia? Diminishing flexibility of eye lens. Okay, diminishing flexibility of eye lens. And the second reason is diminishing flexibility of eye lens, weakening of ciliary muscles. Okay, so I have already told you that to see the nearby objects and also distant object, that is power of accommodation. So what are the two main things that comes in contact? So which are they? One is ciliary muscles, another one is what? Eye lens. So these are the important things to see the objects as well as nearby and also the distant objects. You know what happens due to due to aging, you get ages, so you will become weak. By the time, what happens, these ciliary muscles, what happens, they become very weak. Okay, to actually ciliary muscles, to see the nearby object, ciliary muscles has to be, come closer. The get contracts, but due to age, first one is due to aging, what happens, ciliary muscles, they'll relax, they'll come in contact in a very slowly manner, and also they relaxes very lately. What happens, that the ciliary muscles become so weak, so that they cannot come closer as well as very quickly, because we are all in young age, so our ciliary muscles are working better. So due to aging, what happens, they become weak. On that time, what happens, they cannot able to come closer and go fast as quickly. So by the time, the eye lens, it cannot adjust the focal length, and also the diminishing flexibility of eye lens. So what do you mean by flexibility? So flexibility means movement of the object. Okay, so when you do yoga and all, what happens, our body will be very flexible. Very flexible in the sense we can just bend in either ways. Okay, whichever the way we want to bend, so we can bend like that. That is called flexibility. So eye lens has to, what happens, it has to, it's very flexible to see the nearby objects as well as distant object. But due to aging, what happens, diminishing its flexibility becomes slow, it decreases. By the time, what happens, it cannot adjust its focal length to see the nearby objects as well as distant objects. On that time, what happens, we cannot able to see the nearby objects as well as distant object. So this kind of defect we call it as presbyopia. And what are the corrections for presbyopia? Okay, so the correction is by using bifocal lenses of both convex and concave. Okay, so what happens when you just using your specs, in the upper part will be of concave and sometimes on lower part will be of convex on either. Okay, so you can use depending on your the what defect you have, I mean which one you need. So using both the lenses we can able to correct the defect by using bifocal lenses of both convex and concave. So this is about the presbyopia. And the next one is cataract. Okay, so what is cataract? A small bit is there. So cataract is it's a defect of eye. Last defect we have cataract. The condition of eye lens what happens to the eye lens? The condition of eye lens to become milky and cloudy. So our eye lens is there, right? What happens due to age? When you get aged, what happens there? The eye when you get old age. So when you get old age, due to some that fluid, transparent fluid, that fluid will become old age it turns to milky or cloudy. Okay, when it turns to milky and cloudy, what happens? It blocks the images that entering our eye. On that time, what happens? We cannot able to see any kind of objects. So we cannot even, so on that time, what happens? This is a certain condition. You will become a partial blindness or a full blindness. It depends. Okay, so how can we correct this? At the last, we can correct this by surgical operations, surgery. Okay, surgery. We can able to we may restore our vision or we may not, because due to old age we cannot say. But what is cataract? Cataract, if they ask you for one word question or a 1 mark question, we will write this: the condition of the eye lens becomes milky and cloudy. This condition is called as cataract. We can go for the surgery, and this is how we can able to correct the division. So these are all the important defects of eye. We have 4 important defects we have to recall: the myopia, hypermetropia, presbyopia and cataract.